6 missions. That is how many Starship launches SpaceX needs before a single human can safely spend 1 month on the moon. Mission 1 delivers power. Mission 2 delivers water extraction hardware. Mission 3 delivers the pressurized habitat shell. By Mission 4, the city has a floor plan. By Mission 5, it has air. Mission 6 puts people inside. Every one of those launches is already on a manifest. The only thing standing between you and a moon city is whether the hardware survives long enough to use it. No other company on Earth is even attempting a sequence this ambitious, this specific, or this close to an actual build schedule. SpaceX has named the vehicles, sketched the landing zones, and priced. The propellant needed to make each leg of the journey work. What they have not fully solved is the part that comes after the hardware lands safely on the surface. Every rocket before Starship had one fatal flaw when it came to the moon. It was disposable. You'd spend billions building a vehicle, launch it once, and watch it burn up on the way home. Starship breaks that rule completely, and that changes everything about what's possible. It's designed to land, refuel, and fly again, the same way a commercial airliner turns around at a gate. That reusability is what collapses the cost per kilogram to the lunar surface from millions of dollars down to something workable. But the real unlock isn't just reusability, it's scale. Starship can carry over 100 metric tons of cargo in a single flight, dwarfing anything that came before it. That means you're not trickling supplies to the moon one careful crate at a time. You're moving construction materials, life support systems, and prefabricated habitat sections in bulk on a schedule. No other vehicle on the drawing board today can do all three of those things at once. Before a single boot touches the lunar surface, the moon needs electricity. Everything that follows, the habitats, the life support, the water extraction, runs on power. SpaceX's plan sends an uncrewed Starship ahead of any humans, loaded with solar arrays and a compact nuclear fission reactor. The solar panels deploy automatically across the regolith, drinking in 2 weeks of uninterrupted sunlight during the lunar day. But the lunar night lasts just as long, and solar alone would leave the base completely dark and frozen for 14 days straight. That's where the fission reactor earns its place, running quietly in the background as a baseline that never switches off. Redundancy isn't a luxury here. It's the difference between a functioning outpost and a very expensive graveyard. Every habitat module, every drill, every oxygen generator that arrives later plugs into this grid first. The power infrastructure isn't just Mission 1's goal, it's the foundation. Every other mission is literally built on top of. At the bottom of certain lunar craters, sunlight has never touched the ground, not once in 4 billion years. Those craters sit near the poles, tilted just enough that the sun always skims the rim and never reaches the floor. And in that permanent darkness, water ice has been quietly collecting for longer than complex life existed on Earth. NASA confirmed it, multiple orbiters mapped it, and now it sits there waiting like a frozen utility bill nobody has paid yet. The ice itself is not pure, it's mixed into the regolith like frost baked into gravel, but it's there. And that changes the entire math of living on the moon. Shipping water from Earth cost roughly $10,000 per kilogram just to reach low orbit, and the moon is much farther than that. A local water source doesn't just solve thirst, it solves rocket fuel because water splits into hydrogen and oxygen under electrical current. Every kilogram of ice mined on the moon is a kilogram of propellant that never had to leave Earth. The habitat arrives in 2 separate launches, folded tight inside Starship's payload bay like a collapsed lung. Mission 3 delivers the primary pressure shell, a rigid aluminum composite cylinder roughly the size of a city bus. Robotic arms guided by surface cameras bolt the structure to pre-anchored foundation points from Mission 1. Thermal blankets unroll automatically, wrapping the shell in layers that reflect solar radiation and hold internal heat. Mission 4 brings the interior fit-out module, preloaded with floor panels, partition walls, and an airlock assembly. The 2 modules made along a pressurized collar, and the combined Structure gets buried under 2 meters of regolith for radiation shielding. That burial is not optional. It is the difference between a livable space and a slow death sentence. Autonomous rovers pack the lunar soil by driving calculated grid patterns over the mound for days. By the time Mission 4's systems go dormant, the shell holds pressure, holds temperature, and holds its shape against the vacuum outside. What it doesn't yet hold is breathable air. The shell is standing, but a sealed metal tube is not a place where people can live. Breathable air doesn't arrive. With the hardware, it has to be manufactured, monitored, and endlessly recycled. SpaceX's life support architecture pulls oxygen directly from water using electrolysis, splitting molecules with electrical current. That electricity comes from the solar arrays already anchored outside. During the earliest missions on the surface, carbon dioxide is the quiet killer in any closed habitat, and the scrubbing system runs continuously to strip it from the air. Every exhaled breath gets chemically captured before it can build to dangerous levels inside the dome. The system doesn't just produce oxygen, it balances the entire atmospheric mix, holding nitrogen and pressure within the narrow band that keeps a human body functional. Sensors sample the air hundreds of times per minute, feeding data to automated systems that adjust the mix in real time. Nothing in this loop is optional, and nothing gets a day off. 4 people climb down a ladder and step into a pressurized tunnel for the very first time. The airlock cycles, the inner hatch swings open, and the habitat breathes around them like a living thing. It's not spacious, it's not quiet, and it is absolutely nothing like home. Every surface is functional, every cubic meter is accounted for, and the air smells faintly of metal and recycled moisture. Their first job isn't exploration, it's inspection. They check seals, test the water recovery loop, and verify that every system the robots installed actually holds. Sleeping happens in narrow berths bolted to the curved inner wall, with radiation shielding packed into every gap above them. Meals come from sealed pouches prepared in a galley the size of a small closet. Outside the viewport, the lunar surface sits completely still under a black, starless sky. There's no wind, no ambient noise, no sense that anything out there is alive. What keeps these 4 people going is the same thing that built this place: the certainty that more are coming. 6 people living in pressurized tubes is not a city, it's a campsite with a very expensive commute. But every city on Earth started as something that small, and the logic of growth is the same anywhere you go. The first decade is about survival, keeping those 6 people breathing, fed, and sane through the brutal lunar environment. The second decade is about redundancy, building enough backup systems that a single failure can't kill the whole settlement. By the third decade, the population crosses a threshold where the base starts producing more than it consumes. At that point, the math changes completely and the city begins to sustain itself. Thousands of residents means local manufacturing, local food, local medicine, and something that sounds almost impossible: local culture. The moon stops being a place humans visit and becomes a place humans are from. That shift from outpost to origin is the whole point of everything SpaceX is building right now.